Hey y'all, it's your host Tori Kruse. Welcome to Talk Y'all to Me, your red carpet insider, your friend behind the mic, and the girl behind the scenes connecting fans, artists, and stories that matter. Most of all, a lover of real, honest conversations. Here on Talk Y'all to Me, we pull back the curtain with country artists, industry insiders, faith-forward creators, and everyday leaders, talking about what it really takes to show up, lead with heart, and stay true to you. So whether you're figuring it out, think you've already got it figured out, or if you're just here to learn from the best and keep a pulse on the country scene, this is your spot. So lean in, turn it up, and let's talk, y'all. Hey y'all, welcome back to Talk Y'all to Me. I'm your host, Tori Kruse, and today I'm sitting down with Russell Molina. He is a Texas native. He's an entrepreneur, a business leader, philanthropist, and a bicentennial champion. He has built numerous companies in many different industries, and he owns THS Ranch and the hat store in Houston, Texas. Y'all, welcome Russell Molina.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction too. I appreciate that. I'm happy to be a native Houstonian as well as Texan. Runs deep.
Yeah, I mean, and you grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, and I'm curious if there's a moment where you remember that really has shaped how you lead and how you work today, building so many different businesses.
Well, I don't know if there's one single moment, but there's certainly a series of successes and failures that have really channeled what I do and crafted it or molded me, I should say, and to the way that I am now. But I was very fortunate to have grown up in an entrepreneurial family, as you mentioned. My grandparents started in Molina's Cantina. So that was always there in regards and still is today. But certainly that had some influence on showing me things I didn't want to do, as well as growing up out in the country. So I don't know if it's so much knowing what to do, but certainly I learned some things on what I didn't want to do.
What were one of those things that you didn't want to do that really was a big learning lesson for you?
Uh, Probably spending summers baling hay. Uh, and the second would be being a busboy in a restaurant. So I think those kind of got off the list pretty quick.
I tell you what, I think being a busboy or being a server, I think every single person should go through that because you learn so much on just how to treat others. And that's one of the biggest things that stand out to me when I'm just like reading through your bios and searching all of your different, researching your companies is just like the legacy that you're creating with all of your different businesses. What is that message that you really want people to know about your different brands and how it relates to them?
Well, I mean, I'm fortunate to have a lot of brands that are in the Western industry. And when you think about cowboys and cowgirls and farmers and ranchers and really the true salt of the earth and those who created Texas, right? Those original folks that founded Texas back in the day, to have businesses that really provide a service to them is a great honor because I grew up in FFA and 4-H out in Fort Bend County on the Brazos River. So it's part of my heritage as well. And it's just a joy to be able to bring that to Texans and Houstonians in the hat store and THS Ranch. But I also own a trophy banner buckle business, Superior Trophies, that's real big in FFA, 4-H, and rodeos. So it's a nice complement with the hat store and THS Ranch, as well as a company called Rewards that's high-end belts and buckles. Again, Western belts as well as dress belts, but really a high influence in the Western industry. And then another business is PPI Securities, which is an investigative company that really doesn't have any fit there. But my partner and the president is the former chief of the Texas Rangers. So you talk about history of Texas. There's still that wrapped into that business.
Wow, you you just encompass everything Texas. I'm curious, where did this passion for creating all of these different companies begin and which one came first?
Well, that's a long answer to that question, but I cut my teeth originally in finance, representing European investors. 9/11 happened. I was stuck in actually Quebec, Canada during that. I'd left New York 9/9, and I realized I wanted to change careers. I wanted to stay home. So I bought an oil field company here in Houston, where that really was, I was able to bring everything that I had learned from the financial world and the business world into my own deal. And what really got me going is when I realized through the growth of the company that employing people, that's what really gets me going. So when I can grow a company, that company went from 42 employees to 350 over a 10-year period. I realized that there were thousands of people hoping I was going to make the right decision because their significant other or brother or mother were working for me at that company. So I tell people that my greatest honor as I build out these businesses is to help young people learn business and be that mentor for them, but also that growth to bring in more employees, because to me, that's the greatest satisfaction.
What's your secret sauce to building those companies and just growing the employee base like that?
There's a book called Good to Great, Jim Collins, and I read it 24, 25 years ago, and I took it to heart, and I have used that model along with another book as my guiding principles to really bring the right people on the bus. I mean, there'll be analogies that I would say to you, and you'd say, "Oh yeah, I've heard that before," but it's really who is on your bus and what seat are they on in that bus? Who needs to get off the bus, but most importantly, who's coming on the bus? So I've taken that to heart because at the end of the day, all of my wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for the people that are allowing me to do what I do on the good side of things because they're there every day. So I got a great team. So I would tell you Good to Great is a fabulous read for anybody.
Good to great. All right, everybody take note of that. I know I'm mentally taking note. I've heard of that book before, but I've never actually read it. So that's good to know. Is that something that you teach in your mentorship too with young business leaders?
Absolutely. I've got the book sitting right here. I was reading a chapter yesterday, to be honest with you.
Wow. You know what I immediately think of when you say that is it like life, we're always evolving and growing, and you've had, an enormous amount of success in life and in the business realm. But what is that motivation that just keeps you going day after day and even going back to that same book when you've already had so much success?
I have ADDDD. I mean, I got a lot of
That's true.
energy.
I think a lot
Yeah.
of us business owners do.
Yeah. But no, I love what I do. I can't, I tell people all the time when you're on the bus, if you're in the wrong seat and you're not happy, it doesn't make the mood on the bus very happy. So I'm very happy doing what I'm doing. And yeah, so I love the growth. I love the touching of and making a difference. I mean, truly making a difference.
Yeah, and you're really involved in making a difference in all of Texas, but really, there in Houston. What do you do now in the community that helps support different philanthropy ideas?
Well, my main thing right now is the Texas Bicentennial in 2036. There was a bill that just recently got passed and signed by the governor to create a commission. I was part of that whole process of getting that bill, an amendment to it actually. But people don't realize the Texas Ranger Bicentennial that I was the chairman of in 2023. I started working on that 6, 7 years before, not knowing I had any idea what I was going to do, but just knew that we needed to honor these men and women who go back to before Texas was Texas. So think about the fact that the Texas Ranger Bicentennial was 13 years before Texas's bicentennial. But anyway, so through that process, it really came to me about the fact that we got to make sure that what we were doing for the Ranger Bicentennial was right and correct because Texas Bicentennial was 13 years later. So that's what I'm really working on now is trying to light a fire under different folks. The fact that, yeah, it's 10 years away, but it's going to be gone in a second. And we really need to be prepared 3, 4 years prior to so we can maximize 2036. So anyway, so that gives you a little flavor. But I'm on the Holocaust Museum board. I'm on the Texas Business Leadership Council Executive Committee, which it's all about Texas business, leadership. How do we make Texas the best state to do business in? So we have a lot of initiatives. We go to DC and so anyway, so a lot of different things across the state I try. But well, I can't disclose. When is this airing?
In the
When
next
is this
couple
going to
months.
air? Huh?
In the next couple of months.
Oh, okay. So then if I say something now, it's already be okay.
We
So
we can make sure that it airs after.
so I'll give you an exclusive. Do you remember the Texas Ranger statue that was at Dallas Love Field?
Yes, I do. I was there for the Academy of Country Music Awards 10 years ago, and it
Okay.
was there.
Okay. So it got taken down. It's going back up.
Let's go.
Yeah. So there'll be an unofficial unveiling or getting it set up in February here in a couple of weeks, and then there'll be a big shindig in the part of March. And when this airs, there will be many people that are listening to this that will know because I think it's going to be very big news.
Wow.
And for the history of Texas, the full context of the history of Texas, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But this statue for the men and women of the Texas Rangers and the Department of Public Safety, all law enforcement, it's an important part of that history.
Can you share a little bit about that history?
Which one?
About the statue going back up, and then also I want to take a little bit deeper dive into the bicentennial for those people who are listening who don't necessarily know too much about it.
So this, on the statue piece, the history of that statue is an artist back in the 60s wanted to create this statue. Everybody has a tendency to believe that the statue is after it was modeled after Captain Banks, who was the captain up in Company B at the time up in Dallas Fort Worth. That's not the case. There were a multitude of Rangers who she had come and as she was creating this sculpture. Captain Banks happened to be one. He was the captain, and he was a very known captain within the Ranger Division to this day. Did a lot of good. You can do the history on him. But the statue got taken down during the George Floyd period, and it was a reaction, I think, that was not truly to the level that it should have been because they tried to say that Captain Banks was a prejudiced guy. There was a school in Mansfield when they integrated the schools, and he was there at the governor's order doing the what he was ordered to do, which was keep the peace, and the peace was kept. Uh, but there's these pictures of nooses and various things that everybody attributed to, well, he didn't do anything about that. Well, you got to keep in mind what was occurring in full context. And I try to explain to people history is complicated. You got to take it all into context of what was going on in that era. But he performed his job to the utmost of what it, and he did his job. So to take it down on that basis, I think is wrong. Secondly, a lot of people don't know that Captain Banks, it's because of him that there was the first African American chief of the Texas Rangers.
Wow.
He was the one who recommended that to occur. And I can go through that story. And we have it documented. So this gentleman was a good Texas Ranger and was had nothing to do with being racist. And this statue unfortunately got tainted with that. Now, the Texas Rangers themselves, is there complications in their history? Absolutely. And I could talk all about it. Porvenir, uh, Pedro Negri. I mean, I could go through that, but the fact is that they recognize that they learn from it. And I tell people when you look at anything in history, you can't just take that moment. You have to look at what was going on 6 months before, the month before, the day before, the week before, the day of, but then what happened next? What good came out of because the next day, the next week, the next month, the next 6 months, the next years. So I tell people when you look at the totality, there's far more good than bad or ugly. Is there bad and ugly?
Yes.
Absolutely, but there's far more good. And
Amen to
and
that.
and I think this statue represents that.
Wow. That's exciting. And that is coming up here right around the corner. I think I need to go out there and report that, cover it as it's getting put back up.
Well, I'm in. I would love to have you. So please, after
Yes.
this, I will would love to have you there because I think it's an important piece, and as do so many others. And it needs to be a full welcoming to all. This is
Yes.
not a singular thing. This is
Mhm.
for everybody.
Wow. That's going to be so special.
I hope so.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That is so exciting and exclusive news right here on Talk Y'all to Me. So they get the inside scoop.
They're getting it here. At least the behind the scenes a bit in the sense of before it actually happens.
Hey, y'all, quick pause for something important. If you're connecting with this conversation, you will love my new book, Unexpected. It's filled with the stories, lessons, and mindset shifts that helped me grow through some of the toughest and, quite frankly, most unexpected seasons of my life. My hope is that it inspires you to keep going, even when the path doesn't look the way you imagined. You can get your copy now at torikruse.com. Now, let's jump back into the episode. All right, so let's circle back around to also the Bicentennial champion. Now, if somebody listening isn't too familiar with that, can you just describe a little bit deeper what that means and how you get to that caliber?
Yeah, so that terminology got put on me by some other people actually because I was involved with the Texas Ranger Bicentennial, as I said, as the chairman. Um, and so I put together a group of folks from Authentic Texas Magazine to the Texas Historical Commission. I mean, you start to go off that list. So I think when I realized in the first couple of years of going through the Texas Ranger Bicentennial, laying the groundwork, and it was brought to my attention that Texas Bicentennial was 13 years later. I then knew that that actually had to be part of the conversation too, because it really then hit me that the Rangers are just the first of a bicentennial. There's the Bicentennial of the Alamo, Goliad, obviously the Battle of San Jacinto. I mean, but forget, you go back even to right now, there's bicentennials that occurred in the communities around the state that were significant to that community. So again, 2036 is an opportunity to be able to showcase the entire state aspect of it, but then have that grassroots effort to also bring forward those other local communities and every county within the state to be a part of this. So I then started that as my messaging, knowing that, yeah, the Texas Ranger Bicentennial was one stop on this train, but the real one is 2036. So that's hence why they said I'm the bicentennial champion because I've been talking about it longer than probably anybody.
That's amazing. Well, we're looking forward to 2036. I mean, that might be here before we
I don't
actually
know. I might not be
realize.
involved. I might not be involved. I have a tendency to hold my ground sometimes and I get knocked off the saddle. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I'll do my best. I'll say
Okay, sounds great.
that.
All right, Russell, we got to talk about the THS Ranch and the hat store because both of those, okay, y'all, I'm just going to tell you right now, you have to go follow them on Instagram. Go look at the website. This Western wear, for all of you listening, you know I'm into fashion. I am obsessed with what y'all carry at these stores. I mean, it is a luxury Western wear. Is there anything better? I don't think so. So tell us the story behind both of these different brands that you have, and I can't wait to come down there and go shopping.
Well, I can tell you right now, you saying that coming from you, I mean that I can't wait to tell the girls and guys over there that how you stock because that you just said it perfectly. I mean, luxury Western wear. What's better than that?
Yeah.
So the hat store. So for those who don't know, the roots go back to 1915 here in Houston. The actual American Hat Company, the family that I bought the hat store from, opened and started American Hat Company, which people now see it on Landman and all these various places. They do a great job marketing wise. And but the roots go back to Houston, and the hat store I purchased in 2018, and it's really one where what happens within that store's four walls of getting a custom hat shaped to your head, cut down, totally customized to you happened in a dozen places in Houston, Texas back in the 80s and 90s. They're all gone. Stetson, I mean, Shooty Brothers, which actually that's not true, but oh, what was it? Stelzig's,
Mhm.
Don's Western Wear, Cutter Bill's, Zindler's. There was all these places that you could go and get that experience, but they don't exist any longer. This place was going to close. As you can tell, I'm a passionate guy. I'm a hat guy. My dad was a hat guy. I bought my first hat from this store in 1983. I was like, wow, we can't let this die. So my
Mhm.
cousins, Molina's Cantina, it goes back to 41 in Houston. It's like, hey, we gotta keep this around. So hence where we went in and did because there was no plan. And now we've been very, very happy with what we've been able to do because you've got customers that are fourth generation.
Wow.
and to have that kind of legacy and then to bring that customer service. So the Western wear component came about just a year ago, November, because Pinto Ranch here in Houston shut down, and I took a run to buy it. And I was in the middle of negotiations, and I was used as a stalking horse, which I wouldn't have minded if he would have told me that. I can play that game. But anyway, he pulls it out from under me and sells it to this Jordanian family. So no Houston roots, no Texas roots. And anyway, okay, fine. But it gave me the look at the business. I had a free look. And then I hired a couple of folks from there, i.e., they came on my bus. And now I'm in that luxury Western wear boot business. So I tell people we're head to toe. You want to have an experience from the head to toe and everything in between, you're your place because we'll do it right. And we care. They care.
Yes.
They care. But yeah, I appreciate that. But no, it's a lot of fun. We've got some unique stuff. So it's bespoke, just not made to your foot, let's say on the boots. But you won't get these boots anywhere else. You won't get the sport coat anywhere else. And you certainly aren't going to get the experience of a hat shaped to your head anywhere else.
Wow. I mean, so I don't know if you know this or not, but I actually used to own a virtual wardrobe styling business.
Did
And I
not.
was styling women entrepreneurs and speakers, influencers, leaders of, all different, business leaders. And I am very passionate when it comes to fashion, but it's really like that luxury wear. And I always say you're a walking billboard for your brand wherever you go. And the number one spot is truly when you're traveling. Yeah, the hats right there. I mean, it's a conversation starter. And I said, you don't have to be fully decked out head to toe, although I like to be fully decked out head to toe. You don't have to be. It's just like finding that one piece and just creating a conversation. And that conversation, you never know where it's going to lead. And so that's what I picture when I'm thinking of your hats that you're creating and you're customizing them to people's head. And it tells a story. And it sounds like the experience that you provide as well when they walk in that door. Can you walk us through what it's like when somebody walks in the door at the hat store from like start to finish, what that experience and what they feel is like?
Well, I hope that they feel heard and warm and fuzzy in regards to everything they go through. But the process really is depending upon where you're at on the hat side of life. If you're a fast buyer and you know exactly what you want and you come right in, it's kind of you're going right to the hat that you're looking for. For those who walk in and have never had the experience, it really starts with explaining to them when they look at these open crowns, which are just big round crowns and flat brims, that is just the beginning of the whiteboard in a sense, and they design it to how they want, which becomes the crown as far as, and then the brim size, shape, obviously, and then color of the hat. So it really encompasses all of that. And a lot of them just fall right back onto a black or silver belly, which is a great starter hat. That's the number one selling colors because it's really educating them on the different qualities. A lot of people, when they think about a felt hat, don't realize that the lower end is just pure rabbit fur. And then as you get into the rabbit beaver mix, you have a hat that will hold up in the rain. Think about a beaver is in water. A rabbit doesn't live in water. So obviously one's going to do better than the other. And if you have a pure beaver hat, I tell people you don't need to cover it. Just, I mean, if it's a downpour torrential, okay, it's going to lose a bit of its shape, but bring it, it's going to get right back to where it was. But for the most part, it's fine. So that's really educating them on that. The price obviously goes up with the higher the quality, but it's also is the hat a legacy hat. And what I mean by that is we have, again, fourth generation people who have come in with their great grandfather's hat that they're wearing. And you don't think they don't have stories and attachment to that hat?
Wow. Yeah, that
And
is special.
and then you have these others that again they buy the hat, put it in the closet, never wear it again. So we're everywhere on the spectrum.
Not me. I could not be more opposite. I mean, I have had some my grandkids someday, they're gonna have a heyday be doing all of my hats, but I don't have the best hat yet. Not yet. But I when you said the beaver, I'm like, oh, that's actually really a great, I mean, that would be amazing because when you're outside, for events and road, if there's an outdoor rodeo, I mean, that's the number one thing I think of when I'm outside reporting is the weather in my hat
Mhm.
because that is the staple piece. That is the conversation starter. And it's honestly the thing that I love wearing the most. And you're right, like that is so special that generations after generations come into the hat store. Has there been a really unique story that you've heard before?
Yes, actually online. We happened to be filming for Localish, ABC Localish, and they just started that whole concept. And they came into the store and were videoing, and a gentleman came in a wheelchair. He was 100. I have to go back and look at this, but he was 104 years old, almost the age of when they started American Hat Company in 1915. So because 1915, 2015, 2018, I bought the store. So it was right early on. So I want to say he was born the year the store started and had been a customer ever since. And he was there with his son. So it was a beautiful story that got captured through Localish. That was probably one of the ones that was just so unique in respect to having a gentleman that old who had been a customer since he was 15 or 16 years old, kind of thing. But there's so many of those where you have people that have come in. Again, I guess another one was we had four generations in one at one time.
Wow,
Yeah,
that is so special.
yeah.
That is amazing.
But of course, athletes and different famous people and the Bushes. There's a whole litany of that. ZZ Top, all of the hats that they had back in the day were made by Mr. Cohen that came from the hat store. Lyle Lovett, you know, again, it's tremendous history and
What
heritage.
Absolutely. What does it mean for you to create a legacy and just continue this legacy like this?
I think that's one of the greatest things in life to be able to leave that legacy. Um, it's just, yeah, what a blessing.
So as all of these brands continue to evolve and develop, and I'm sure you have a lot more even companies and business ideas that you're about to pursue and launch and build. What is that legacy that you're wanting to tell through all of these different success stories?
You know, I have to fall back onto a motto of my alma mater. A life is its service. What did you do? For the better good. And I think that's really where employing people, making that impact, and knowing that they're dependent on you to make the right decisions, and they're able to send their kids to school or pay for medical or just live. I mean, I can't get much more than that. I mean, philanthropically, yeah, I'll never stop. Trying to do good for education, using the bicentennial. When I talk about the bicentennial, to me, it's all about education, 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 an opportunity to educate people of all ages, of all demographics, all over the state, all over the country, all over the world. It's also an economic impact. So we can bring all these folks to come in 2036, having celebrations all around the state. And if you go look at what happened in the 150th, for every dollar that got invested, they got a $6, $7 return. It's a no-brainer economically. And then it's infrastructure, old infrastructure, new infrastructure that again tells the history of Texas and preserves that history. So anyway, I got a lot in the mix, but I think it's important that you do what you want to do that you enjoy, and I happen to enjoy a lot of different things.
Well, Russell, thank you so much for coming on today. The impact that you have, the people that you employ, your legacy. I mean, just everything is it's incredibly impressive. And it's amazing to hear the heart behind so many different brands and your philanthropic ventures and the bicentennial, all of the things that encompass Russell Molina is just beautiful to hear. And thank you for sharing your heart with us today on Talk Y'all to Me. I really appreciate you coming on and looking forward to coming down there to Houston and visiting your stores as well. And can't wait to check out that custom hat as well. So thank you, Russell. It's been a joy.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time and appreciate the kind words.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for tuning in to Talk Y'all to Me. I'm your host, Tori Kruse, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for tuning in to Talk Y'all to Me. If this episode encouraged you or reminded you of your calling, share it with someone who needs that same reminder today. Hit the follow button to subscribe so you don't miss what's next, And come hang out with me on social at official Tori Kruse. Keep shining, stay faithful, and keep talking, y'all.